Okay, hello everybody. I've got some quite basic questions, I think, so hopefully they won't take too long. Um, about 30 years ago, I learnt TM, the Transcendental Meditation, and we were given a Sanskrit mantra to say. I don't often do it now, but I just wondered, with the singing the New You, I wondered if it was the same sort of effect, or is it something different? I haven't really explained it very well, so hopefully you'll understand it.
No, I understand. And so we've gone through all these phases, it's kind of like when you were young. And I'm sure you sang songs with your mom, didn't you? Little songs like Jingle Bells, or that's what they do over here, but whatever it is they sing in Europe there, or what have you, at different times of the year, or etc. It's kind of the same thing. And these things, for the most part, these songs and these ideas are basically physical and astral because they're emotional. They ring to your emotions. You feel good about things. You're enthused. You're happy, etc. They ring to your emotions, and they do go through your being. Of course, the real you experiences them. Well, the difference between this, and many people think in their minds that there is no difference, and just like the all is, oh, it must be a God. Okay. Well, no, it's not. And that is that it takes some time to understand what's going on. So is it to where when you were in first and second grade, what you were taught there is the same as what is being taught at university level? You see? Is it the same? So no, the TM, basically transcendental meditation, I'm very familiar with that. That's basically physical astral. That's as far as it goes. And if they do any traveling anywhere, it's usually astral projection. And what happens is that because it's a passive system, people become tap lined by the reptilians very rapidly. And so, yeah, the words, the Sanskrit words do relate to certain things, but they do not relate in any way to the real universes. That becomes the difference. So you're bouncing around creation still with these ideas that sound good, the ancient words, the Om and the Amen. And the Amen really came from the Om because that's from the reptilian Lord God, Grog, who's on the fourth level that rules basically, well, he thinks he does, creation. And he's reptilian also. He's a giant lizard. But he has many faces, okay? So I know this individual very well. And so the new you, life decides, not we don't decide. See, again, you look all over the earth, you look at all these things that people have decided. And it's really them. It's like, oh, we'll go into ancient history and we'll discover, oh, we discovered this and that and whatever in the scriptures and the Ten Commandments. We found the old tablets and whatever. So it's like, okay, let's worship and pray to these things and create ceremonies and rituals. Well, that's where people decide. They're not paying attention to the true reality life is. This is where the real guides come in. They are the intermediates. I was paid attention. So when the new came in, I saw it. And I actually added the you. I actually added the new you because the you is the isness. And now it's become the new you, etc. But this is a real connection to the real universes of the all is, which are endless. All these other things that are floating around sound good, and it gives people experiences. Hey, all experiences are valid. There's no negating anything. It just depends upon where you want to position yourself. But again, these things, they just involve cause and effect, reincarnation, and karma is what they involve. And that's it. And today, especially, just like the corporation that I was part of when Paul started it, it's all taken over by Joni the Reptilian, and everybody gets tap line. And you can listen to Sandy's experiences and some of the videos that we did here with Sandy and Claudia, etc. I asked them to go to the real side and do certain things, and they went to the corporation. She was with the corporation 50 years as an example. But all these things are the same today. The reptilians have taken over everything simply because they have gotten the agreement from the people here. This is what the people don't see, is that they're unconsciously controlled. So these things that did work at one time, yeah, they help you out, It's like you can ride a tricycle around, but, I would say you'd rather probably drive your car. So there's the difference. You can either just keep pushing the little trike along with one foot on it and pushing it, or you can get in your car and get going and get something done with your life. And that's what the new you is. It's actually more like flying in a jet. But it relates to the real universes. That becomes the difference. It's what it relates to, not what people think it is, you see. So life decides itself. And until people learn to recognize this, well, they become self-convinced and self-deciding. It's like, the belief systems and all that. These are people deciding what life is. Well, actually what they're doing is that they're continually creating positions, and more so in creation, because they're deciding. They're not seeing the true reality life is. And there can be no freedom in creation because the personal will restricts itself, where in the real universes, you don't need the personal will. You don't need the personal self. There's just you, the awareness, and you have real freedom because you have no restrictions. That becomes the difference. So that's why we have the new you. And sometimes it takes a few minutes because, again, you got to get through that personal self first. And that's a toughie because you've carried it around for, you might say, millions of lifetimes. And it's very embedded, so there's a lot to learn. But you need all of that because little by little, you're going to get little peeks at the true reality life is, the isness it is. And eventually you'll stand real in that, and you won't need creation anymore. You'll see that it's just a speck of dust. But again, right now, you're on your journey. And those things, again, accordingly, they relate to what they do. And basically, they're physical, astral. And when people become very involved in them, they will just get tap line today because just like the world ruled by the cabal, they're into everything physically and astrally. They're everywhere because of the agreement that has been made over the years. People have agreed to it, and they really don't realize what they're agreeing to. There you go.
Okay, thanks very much. Another question is about Reiki. I've been attuned to Reiki 1 and 2. I understand that you can take on a patient's karma, good or bad, if you heal other people. But I just wondered, if you do it on yourself, if you treat yourself or you treat your own pets, I just wondered how that would affect you. Because, I can't see how you could take on your own karma, but just a bit confused about that.
Yeah, the Reiki idea seems really cool, like a lot of things. And I've known several so-called Reiki masters, and one gal, she's with this. She does the new you, and she's very aware. Well, she started to see on the real side that it wasn't as what she thought it was. See, realistically, nobody can realistically, they can, but realistically they can't heal another person. This bringing the light through and through your hands and all this stuff, yeah, you're taking on their karma. There was a fella in the corporation, his name was Tom Flamma. He wrote a book, Bridge to Eckankar, but I used to listen to his tapes. He was Nathan Nishit when I was back there in the corporation. In Darwin's day, he was there. And he did that. He did the healing and all that. He almost died because of all that. He took on so much karma. Yeah, the Reiki people, they'll last for a while. They'll do these healings for a while. And fine, if they want your karma, let them have it. The thing being is that, and this is what Jesus went through too. He had to deal with the lords of karma because all the magic and the tricks that he did, he used the psychic miracles and stuff like that. He was manipulating matter. He took on a lot of karma, and this is what people don't know. And yeah, you are. And it doesn't matter if you want to do it to yourself, again, that's your choice. But when you get involved in others and thinking that you're doing this or that, well, it's like anything. You start to create tap lines, and you can do that to your pets too. Well, she discovered that this gal discovered on the real side, she was watching some of these other Reiki so-called masters, and they were stealing the energy of others. You see, again, you have this physical idea of things. You go to classes, the basic idea of masters and gurus today is that, you study the ancient texts. And at a certain point, you're a master. You go out there, you find people, and you have students, you see. etc. John Roger Hinkins of Messiah, etc. He was a student of Paul, and he took the works, and all of a sudden he proclaimed himself as the master. Well, life and the real guides didn't decide that he had the rod of power and was the master at that time. No. And others, Michael Owens and Varden Carr and all these things, Dunami, etc. No, they're self-decided is what they are. The Dalai Lama and all these things, the Pope, etc. Anyone can see with the new you can see on the real side. And yes, I would suggest to stay away from it altogether. Use the new you because it connects you to everything real. And so when it comes to healings or whatever, etc., yeah, do it for yourself. It's kind of like preparing meals. Yeah, you can, you can think that, oh, the meal I'm preparing is really good. Okay. In a way, that's what witches think. Oh, I've got something really good for you here. Here, try this. Okay. So again, and even when you're buying stuff at the store and you're preparing meals and giving it to others, you don't know what's in those ingredients. And besides, everything has nanotechnology into it today. So we're passing all this stuff around. But I'm not saying not do that. But yes, there's more unseen to the Reiki idea. And again, it's all taken over by the reptilians. And they're manipulating it on the other side where people don't see, to where everybody's tap line and confused. And eventually, just like in the corporation Eckankar, Joni's Eckankar, they're all getting cancers because they're all tap line. They're dying left and right, and they're all getting cancers. Yeah, so it's a little bit scary once you start to wake up and start to see it. But, again, people become emotionally attached to these old ideas of tradition and ancient stuff, thinking it's something. Well, no, it's really not. It's kind of like digging up King Tut's tomb, and all you find is a dead mummy. Very real. That's how real it gets. But again, people have made things into something that they're really not. And this is where, we're providing a real education, showing people that, these things don't work as people think that they do. And actually, you persist, they just get you in trouble. So you decide, and you'll be shown on the real side. So ask there and see what you get from there, and bring your experiences forward. Again, this is why I asked Sandy and Claudie to take a look at when Marjorie Klemp, who I knew, who was Harold's previous wife, passed on. Well, she was the grade 8th initiate, but she went off with the reptilians because she made a deal with them. But on the outer here, she looked really good. She looked like the all-knowing person, etc., because she was like the 8th initiate. Well, she went with the reptilians, and she's lost on the real side. Yeah, it's touch and go, and it is the razor's edge here. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. One more question, which I hope you don't mind me asking. I've been reading a lot of different posts on Kevin's Facebook page. I find the spelling quite strange. I just wondered why you are using different sort of spelling and lots of extra S's and things like that.
Simply because that I have fun. What I've created is references, and you brought up the Sanskrit idea. Look at the old Sanskrit words. Look at Hebrew, Greek, or whatever that people study. Latin, that's a big deal that people sometimes study, etc. And look at the words and how they're spelt, and etc. All I'm doing is I'm referring to something, I'm using the idea like recognize, and I put the IS in there with a little quotations on each side, because it's referring to this isness, and there's a part of you that recognizes this, but that personal part of you that's been educated a certain way, well, you see, as you're looking through the body type, you're using that as your template. But eventually, all of a sudden, there's a part of you that's going to recognize, oh, now I see what he's saying. See, I'm creating this language, my own language, you might say, as a reference to the true reality, and not just the earth. See, more so than just the literal language. And this is why the reptilians use the educational system. This is why they created them, for everybody to be literal and stay one-dimensional. In other words, just stay a physical body and brain. And what I'm doing is I'm demonstrating something that makes you kind of wonder. It's like, okay, what's the real meaning of this? Well, it relates to the real universes and to recognizing more. So this is where I'm upgrading the words, you might say, you think? So you have to learn the language, just like if you're going to Russia, you know, and you want to speak to people, you got to take time to learn the language, you see?
Okay, I just have to read more of your books, I think, and look at more Facebook pages. Okay, I think that's all for me now. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Right. Yeah, I see the language in the books, and I understand it. I think it's brilliant. Decidedness, knowingness, all aliveness. I think it's fantastic. I see it as I see it. But yeah, basically, I got a question. All week, basically, I've been seeing a lot of videos on the tube, and they're promoting this Grand Solar Minimum and the coming mini ice age, and it's a bit at odds with what the controllers are doing with the weather warfare and climate change and all that. You know, saying we're heating up, and then you've got all these videos saying we're not heating up, we're cooling down, and it's going to be bad. There's going to be an ice age and all that stuff. And I wanted to know Dwayne's thoughts on it, and whether it's just the controllers putting it out there again, you know, just to confuse everyone and to stir the pot, or is it actually a cycle of creation of the planet?
Well, to the world controllers, this is a big video game to them. Just see it like that. And so again, and they're the ones that have promoted all these things to market people. And yeah, the basic idea is, you're right, it's confusion. And it's not the natural process of things. It's being controlled and manipulated, just like Monsanto takes what is naturally grown here, corn, beets, whatever, and modifies them. And so what they've done is they've modified the weather to where they control it, because, see, people are becoming more aware, because we're here, because I'm here. And they see this too. And they want to keep people confused. They don't want them aware, because they don't want to lose the control, because realistically, they are more afraid than anybody else. They promote fear, is what they do. So with the weather and whatever. And so, yeah, you're going to get all these pros and cons, so to speak, the back and forth, because, again, this shuffles things around. Well, this guy says this, and this guy says this, and whatever. See, they purposely do that to keep people confused, to where they don't know if they're coming or going. And so they create all these events, just like this climate change events and all this nonsense. It's just people, blah, 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 is all it is. I don't listen to it. I focus on the is, and I constantly create something that's a benefit to people. I look around. Realistically, with what's going on, heck, I don't know what they're, I see basically the ideas of what they're doing, but, because they're doing it and they're manipulating it, just like 5G and 6G coming and all these things, and HARP and whatever every day, you just have to deal with it. That's all there is to it. We've been part of this. We face it or not. People can believe what they want. And lots of times this is where they're, like in France and many places, people are revolting and rebelling against the government. Well, the government's fine with all that. They're fine with all that revolting, because they're getting agreement from that. And all those people that are emotionally involved with doing all this, well, they're being tap-lined night and day, because the reptilians live off of emotion. So they welcome all this rioting and whatever, etc. So, and when it comes to the weather, and they're talking about a freezing or warming down or all these things, again, it's a big video game to them. And so there's not going to be any law or idea that's going to solve this. It's all in the consciousness now. You see, there's a huge agreement to all this because this has become, for the most part, most people's reality. So they're being affected. So they're going to react, and they're going to even more so tap line themselves in this position. And so that's why we're here. We're showing people that you can, become more aware and step aside from a lot of these effects. We're not here to save the world because, again, for the most part, because there's such an unconscious agreement with this world and what's going on, that this is the only reality there is. Getting through that is like, it's more so than chipping through ice. It's like solid rock, the consciousness here. And what I'm presenting has nothing to do with the consciousness. There's a group consciousness in the world. And it is basically controlled by the reptilians because they continually get agreement and people keep agreeing to it, mainly unconsciously. All the knowledge that's learned out there about the reptilians and the systems and what the government's doing, hey, they're fine to let you have it. They'll let you have all the secrets or whatever because they control people unconsciously. See, most people, when they think they've got all this knowledge, they're thinking that, oh, well, I know this or that. Well, there's nothing you can really do with it because they've got you unconsciously, controlled. So, it's just a big game to them. It's they're standing up there in their castles looking down, and they like to watch people suffer. This is what they do because they're bored. And you would think in your so-called rational mind that you've been educated with, which they created the systems for, you're thinking, gee, why are they doing this? It doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. But they've conditioned you to think in terms that you're to make sense of things where they don't have to. In other words, they've made the laws, but they don't have to obey them. They've made them for you to restrict you so they can do whatever they want with you. And you're to agree, and you're to testify in court and to tell the truth, and they don't have to. You see? That's the system they have set up. And until people totally wake up to that and recognize that there are real universes that they can stand real in, well, they're going to be the effect of everything around them. So they're going to constantly be confused about the weather this, the weather that. When it's all controlled, it's not about any of those issues. That's the marketing ploy and the deception. The reality is they're controlling the weather and they're going to do whatever they want. So as long as we're here, we got to deal with it. I got to deal with it too.
Yeah, I seen a video yesterday, and some American general was saying, yeah, it's another 5, 10, 15, 25 years they're going to be spraying the skies. And I just thought, yeah, it's all the agreement. And yeah, thank you, Dwayne. Brilliant answer. And I've got an experience I'd like to share, and I ain't got a clue because I ain't decided what it means. I ain't defined it, but it was about 2 months ago. And it was the same as Kevin Dad's. It was a flying dream. When I started out, I was just flying. I've never had one before in my life. Never had a flying dream. But I was singing the New Year that night, and I was flying around where I live. And then the next minute, I was in space. And I was surrounded by, I don't know who it was. I was surrounded by, I think it might have been a few guides, but one of them was definitely female, blonde female, and was basically, it was like, I mean, I've never done it, but I've just seen them doing the skydiving, and they like link hands and they're all going around in a circle. It was basically that, and then it was this female approached me as we was flying around in space, and she just gave me a big hug, really big hug. I didn't see her face, and then she had blonde hair, and that was it. I woke up, but the impression I got when I woke, it was like the love idea was like really strong. That's how I felt when I woke up. It was like a really loving experience. It was lovely. I woke up from it, and I tried to define what it was and what it meant. I wasn't like looking at it from the outside, like one of them. It was just like I was in it and I was experiencing it all, and it was a beautiful dream. But I just I can't define it. I don't know what it meant. And that's it really. That's all I wanted to share. And yeah, thank you.
That's terrific. So again, more so than climbing a mountain or a tall building, you rose above the earth because you're able to, you might say, see what is demonstrated to you, and that's where the embrace came in, You know, again, the real guides are embracing you, you see, because you're able to see, you accept that view. That's how you got there. You see, you're accepting this view, and, you know, everything equals itself. And so, again, they've demonstrated that, you know, welcome, you're seeing what's going on. You see the whole world view. That's all. You see? Very simple. Yeah. But you have that experience. So now you have something to relate to. In other words, while you're doing the new you, while you're reading the new books or whatever you're doing, this becomes a verification to you. You see? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dwayne.
Forgive